Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast, Hello to Healing. I'm your host, Michaela.
And I'm Michelle.
And today we are going to talk about the topic of mindset and kind of key factors of what creates a powerful mindset and what kind of creates limiting thoughts too within yourself. So, Michelle, you want to talk a little bit about what is mindset itself?
Well, for me, mindset means how I think about things. What thoughts come into my mind as far as circumstances, or if I'm in trying to do something, what is my thought about that? And as we've said before in our previous podcasts, thoughts are things. They are definitely, they go and you create them events through your thoughts. And the other thing about that is you can't have a zillion thoughts at one time. So if you are, for example, if you are thinking about or focusing on gratitude and you're grateful for your day, you're grateful for the people in your life, you're grateful for all the things you have and the abundance, you're grateful for the planet and what's on it. You cannot be in a place of lack. It just doesn't go together. So again, it's your thought, your focus is you are creating makes your life and how you respond to things. So that's kind of my concept of mindset. I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, exactly. That your mindset, for me, mindset is the key functionality of how you see your life and
Mm-hmm.
how the actions that you take every single day. And even, on a conscious and subconscious level, those are key parts of what create the mindset that you have now. And today we're going to kind of jump into and talk a little bit about what creates the mindset itself and on a conscious and subconscious level. So, Michelle, having all this experience, in the medical field is going to help me out a little bit. But we're going to talk about the three parts of your brain itself and how this plays a factor. So, the first part, when talking about the mindset itself, we need to look at your brain, right? The neocortex is the thinking part of your brain. It's the part that we consider to be the processor. It's what helps apply the knowledge that you gain from reading books, from your experiences. It's accumulating all of this knowledge within yourself. So this is what we would call like the knowledge is for the mind, for the brain itself. And a lot of times that this knowledge that you gain, obviously it's a personalized. What you experience, what you have, it's personalized, and then you're able to apply this knowledge that you acquire. I don't know if you can add anything more to that, Michelle.
Well, where does our knowledge come from? So, knowledge, as you said, books, your education in the school, society gives you knowledge, and your parents definitely influence you with their knowledge. And it becomes almost ancestral as well. You say, I do this because my mother, my great grandmother, they pass that knowledge along. I mean, people that are shamans, let's think about that their knowledge oftentimes came from their ancestors, and that's passed on in that way. So knowledge comes in a lot of different forms.
Right.
So just
Yeah.
wanted to add that.
Yeah. And the thing about this, that when you acquire new knowledge, you're essentially creating these different neural pathways within your brain that are connectivity between like what is happening within your mind itself. Now, we're going to jump into what the next part of your brain, which is the limbic. It's the part of your brain that is considered to be the emotional part. So we have the mind, the knowledge for the neocortex. The limbic is about creating and maintaining and organizing these parts of these chemicals that are connected to this emotional response within your body itself. So it's about the experiences within the body. So when we talk about, like I said, it's maintaining and organizing. So if you look at an example, like your first kiss you ever had, your first relationship, your true love, whatever it is, these moments that you have within your life, some of those thoughts that you have are so clearly defined. Like you could imagine yourself back in that moment, feeling that emotion connected to it. Yet some other moments in our life, we kind of forget or don't even remember or recall what happened. It's because there's a different chemical reaction and a kind of a stop within your processing system that's happening in the neocortex. So for example, as your love proposes to you, in that moment, most people can respond to what was happening, where they were, what was going on, the emotions, everything is very defined in that moment. It's because within your brain, there is this shift and change. So what you hear is out of order for what you saw. And because of this, it's like breaking this routine in your brain. And so because of that, we're able to absorb this information in a more defined way. And those emotions are so up leveled and on a higher, what you could say, vibration or a higher emotional response and chemicals within your body that are running through, that we can remember them in an easier way more than others. So that's kind of what the emotional part of it. And I want to bring to your attention, though, when it comes to this emotional part of you, what I deal with something called the emotion code that I've talked about in past podcasts, is that these emotions that we feel, they can get stuck or trapped, these energies within our body. And like I'm explaining, that these emotions are a chemical exchange within your body, that wherever this emotion is felt, if it's not processed by your neocortex, the thinking part of your brain, if it is not processed and understood and learned what this experience or what's going on and not felt, then it gets stuck. This energy can get stuck within your body and it's not processed, which can cause problems down the line within your body, within your mindset itself. Trying to shift and change your life path can feel like blocks are in the way. And it's because these chemicals have basically been stuck, which we would call trapped emotions within your body. Do you have anything else to add to that?
Wow, that was quite a bit. So, so just to kind of recap, we go from the first neocortex is knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
The second is your limbic, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
that really is your emotions. And it's the chemical components that affect your body in many different ways. There's also a memory part of it. I mean, I can give you an example. When you have a child in childbirth, women remember every detail of that whole thing. And you go back to, you understand what the feeling was, some of the pain that you experienced, but you also remember the absolute joy and ecstasy that you have from having that child now come and give you love. So those are very intense emotions that, when you think about that, it stimulates you to, sometimes you'll have, I mean, I could even go to tears thinking about when I had my children and what a wonderful experience that was for me. Somebody else may not have that, but for me, it certainly was. So the other thing I want to add to the emotion part is that, emotions are energy in motion. It makes complete sense. Even the term makes complete sense. And it's that chemical response that creates that motion, right? I mean, it's the chemical response, and it's also the energies in the environment affecting us that creates all of this going on within our bodies.
Mhm.
So it makes
Mhm.
perfect sense what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly. There is this, like, what is it that we get from this information that we're explaining? Is that if knowledge is for the mind and the experience that we have is for the body, then we must teach the body what the mind already has learned. So
absolutely.
what are we getting from that? What I'm saying is that many people in this life, they read books, they listen to things, and they feel motivated to change their life. But if the body is not in alignment with where the mind is, then who's running the show? Honestly, if you think about it, if your mind has an idea of what you want to change and you know what you need to change, but if you cannot get yourself, for example, to go to the gym consistently and get your body in alignment with your mind and the knowledge you have, then nothing is going to change. There has to be a motion, a change in the way that we feel about an experience too. If you want to feel better, you got to start understanding, what does that feeling feel like? Instead of feeling depressed or unhappy about your body, you need to look at it. What would it feel like to be that emotion, to feel good about myself, and start being it now? You got to start
Right.
activating this chemical response in our body and align both the knowledge and the body at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. And those thoughts and those knowledge should be the thing that is telling your body what we got to do, instead of your body running the show and I'm this, I'm illness, I'm this, I can't do that. You need to get this shift that you're talking about. Absolutely. So
I definitely worked in my past working with clients for coaching and everything. I can tell you that no matter how many things that I would do about affirmations, about changing the mindset itself, it's one thing to have and acquire the knowledge how to do something. But if you don't connect and understand the emotion behind what it is you desire and what it would feel like and embody that, nothing is going to change, because at the end of the day, your body is running the show. If you can't get up out of the couch, but your brain is saying this will be good for me, and because X, Y, and Z, what changes are actually going to happen, right?
well, knowledge without action goes nowhere.
Exactly.
I mean, you have to incorporate the two and have a better understanding. Yeah.
Exactly. And which kind of, we're going to jump into what the cerebellum is, which is the third part of this part of the brain itself, which is considered the memory bank or the memory center of your brain itself. It's where it stores like these habitual thoughts, these acquired behaviors, this routine that you've gained and, created a concrete routine within yourself and this mindset. So it's about connecting the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. This is where your subconscious mind is basically residing in, because it's the memory of actions that you do within your everyday life that become a habit. For example, riding a bike. At first, it's hard, it's difficult. Your neocortex is working, right? It's functioning, and then it's learning, and then eventually your body's in that motion, and then it becomes a memory. And that physical memory is now able to run the show. It's in your subconscious mind. You know how to ride a bike. You don't even need to think about it. Same thing with driving, right? You don't even think about it. You just know how it works. So the cerebellum is the place where we're talking about the subconscious mind, which is where these changes significantly have to change. And this is where one of the hardest parts is because, for example, if you were to meet your mother-in-law, right, and your mother-in-law is provoking you, is creating this emotional triggers with you that upset you, And every time you always reacted the same way, you get upset, you would leave, or you would make a comment that would make it uncomfortable. Well, eventually you get to this point where, you know what? I don't want to be like this anymore. You're acknowledging it. That in that moment, you are being consciously aware of your actions. That's the first step, is understanding where you are and where you want to be. I don't want to be this way anymore. So you apply the knowledge, which is in the neocortex. You learn what it is that you want to be. Okay. Then we start to activate this emotional response. So instead of you always saying something to your mother-in-law, you don't react. You don't say anything. And you stay firmly within yourself and make conscious decisions of, I'm not going to react. I'm going to stay this way. I'm going to change my behavior. Eventually, when you continually respond this way, your chemicals within your body, within your mind, and with your brain are now shifting and changing to the actions that you're applying this to. So you now, instead of feeling hatred, you want to embody this feeling of gratitude and acceptance for your mother-in-law. And after these habits you start creating, you will start to feel chemically in your brain, in your limbic system, a shift. You will start to feel this acceptance and joy and love for this person, because that's what you're choosing to feel. And your body is now having to respond to your brain, the thinking mind. And that, once it's a foundation and a reinforcement continually, like riding a bike, you will change this subconscious actions and thoughts into a conscious action. And that's how we change our mindset, is understanding where you are, where you want to be, and being continually, proactive about those thoughts that you have. So, yeah, do you have anything?
Yeah, and the big thing you have to realize is this is you individually choosing to make these changes. You're not a victim. You're not just letting yourself respond. You are choosing for yourself to make changes to make it better for you. And some of that comes out of, you have to have the realization of a little bit of self-love, that I can't continue this way. This isn't healthy for me. And the other thing that happens out of this subconscious being conscious, I guess, is that when you've made those changes and you respond that way, that energy that you are putting out radiates to the other individual. This is the beauty of this. And their response is different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's completely makes a shift with all that is around you. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of this process, in making mindset changes. Mm-hmm. So it's becoming aware, and you explained this very, very well. I appreciate it. It's a good understanding of where you are at and how we can make those changes. You are not a victim to your body just going, okay, it's my mother-in-law. I don't like this lady. Mm-hmm. And you have the choice to stay in that, and your body can definitely run that show. I mean, or you can choose to make changes with that. So mm-hmm. that's great.
Yeah, shifting and changing. And I think one thing that you need to realize is, even like I'm explaining it and saying that it's simplistic to just make that conscious choice to change, but I'm not saying changing your mindset is the easiest thing in the world. But one of the things that you need to realize is that you need to know who you want to be, and you need to know who you're being currently. And the pathway to get there will be a flow, will be a gradual change. It's not going to be like the next day you're just, this changed person. It is a process. Like we're talking about these chemical shifts and changes within the body. Now, this is talking about the physical sense, right? This is explaining to you that everything has a process, and that changing your mindset starts with you making a choice and being conscious about it. Being conscious to me is being aware of your actions that are affecting the external world.
Actually.
If you want to change your life, if you want to change your experience, you need to change what's going on within yourself first. It is always within you, and you have the power within, which is exactly what we're doing here within our business, within
That's
ourselves.
right.
We have the power within, and you've always had it. And the truth is that we haven't been educated to understand this. We haven't been
Correct.
consciously aware that we have always had the power to change our life and the projection that it's going to. Now, I do want to bring this to attention that this book, a lot of information that I've gained from, explaining this is from doctor, one of the local doctors. He is, I'll put that in the description below, but it's called The Habit of Changing Yourself and Your Mindset. And this is such a key tool that I think everyone should take a look at. It is a lot of information, but yeah, it's a great book to take a look at. Habit of Changing Yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. And there's an abundance of that out there to read and gather knowledge. And the biggest thing is you have to be open to the change. And once you're open to that, the rest of it'll flow. It'll happen. And we're not saying that it's not like poof, that is it. There is a part of it that you have to work at. But once you open up to it, the changes will occur. Most definitely.
Yeah, of course. And this is kind of going back to what we're doing here for, the Power Within Wellness, and the harmonic egg and emotion code is about clearing and actually understanding that you've had the power all along, and getting rid of these energies that are these chemicals within our body, these energies that are stuck, that are causing blockages within our healthy body, that stands underneath these dysfunctional frequencies. And we have to basically taking these layers off and identifying what was the cause of it. It's beautiful when doing emotion code sessions with my clients, is that when I'm able to identify these emotions that are trapped within their body from a past experience that they didn't process or want to process itself, when you bring that up, it's not necessarily something like in a therapy session where it's a trauma, but it's more of realizing and coming to a sense that I can accept this happened and let it go. And it's like a shedding process that we have to be able to tap within ourselves and know that, we can release this, and we can become more consciously aware to change ourselves. And when we are attuned and changing ourselves with a conscious mind, we are essentially helping others change the way they respond, which is the point. This is the evolution of the new earth itself.
Right. So when you have I'd say the openness, and you let things go, then everything flows. It absolutely does. And that openness to that power that you have within you, that's always been there. You just have to recognize it. That's what it's about. That's what our therapies are about. That's what we're about as far as teaching and
I want to also kind of touch a little bit about how you can shift your mindset like on your own. Personal things that have helped me would be journaling, writing things out, maybe, for example, processing emotions, chemicals within our body that we don't necessarily let go or address. It's important for you to feel those emotions entirely. And I'm not saying dwelling on the emotions itself, but feeling what the experience is that you're going through. A lot of times journaling out for me, writing the words and coming back later and reflecting on that from a different point of view helps me process what was going on in that moment for me to let it go. Do you have any advice that you could give about?
Journaling's great. Quieting your mind. You have to take every day some time to quiet your mind and let that subconscious come to you, direct you. Quieting your mind is not something you don't have to have a half an hour to do that.
Mm-mm.
You need to sit down, slow down your breathing, and take maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a necessary component to be in touch with you,
Mm-hmm.
the real you,
Mm-hmm.
that's there, that's just waiting to embrace you and empower you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's another way.
When I think about the neocortex too, like the thinking part of your brain, it can completely, get you confused on where your life path is going because you're constantly thinking. It's called the monkey mind, where you're just all over the place. Your mind is all over the place thinking about just a bajillion different things. And let's say you want to, I don't know, gain another career or move somewhere or change something within yourself. If you're constantly in this thought process mode of constantly thinking about it, but nothing, you don't have that awareness to actually physically put that into action because your mind is constantly thinking. And when you give yourself that moment, that 5 minutes of silence, first off, it's not going to be just easy, like you become a monk and like your mind is silenced. That is not how this meditation process works. It's you consciously making that decision to sit down and to quiet your mind. Clear yourself of all the monkey mind business and focus on the present moment. I would love to tell you that Abraham Hicks, if you've never heard of her, I would highly suggest checking her out. She talks about the best way to quiet your mind is focusing on the one thing that maybe for example, like an air conditioner or a fan. It's like a white noise that you focus on, and it's helping you create that silence of focusing on your thoughts itself.
That is what happens in the harmonic egg. That is what happens. You have your intention set, your focus, and you just completely go into that space. Mm-hmm. But you have to be open to doing that again. Mm-hmm. So
your brain is getting into the alpha.
Exactly. I mean, if we're going to start doing, yes, absolutely. So,
which is a frequency, yeah.
Yes.
Course. So, I want to also say, kind of before we wrap up, another way about intentions of creating a new reality, right? We talk about the chemical part of our brain and how things are changing and the components, but one of the biggest things that you can do to create a different reality has to start within yourself. And once you get your monkey mind, your thoughts into a silence, it's about visualizing, creating this hologram of which you see yourself in. What I talked about earlier about going to the gym and having that emotional connection to what it is that you desire. Sometimes our brain does better by seeing something visually, which means that you see yourself going to the gym, you see yourself doing this action, and it is automatically changing the emotional chemicals within your brain too, because your brain doesn't know between the reality and the visual holographic part of what you're seeing. So you can feel what it is that you want first before it comes into your actual reality. And this is what meditation is about too. When you have the intention and the direction of seeing what you want, you are changing your brain chemicals, which is also changing your energy, which is going to change the frequency of what you are attracting within your life itself.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely,
it's a process.
Absolutely. Though. Yeah. So we said journaling, meditating, and visualization are definitely 3 ways, but they're all actions you have to take. So
commitment.
It is a commitment. It is you engaging with it and tapping into that beautiful power that's within you, and also helping to direct it so that it benefits you. Mm-hmm. So it's
about commitment to yourself and committing to who you are now and the vision of yourself you want to be. And a lot of that comes with the experience of seeing and feeling things that maybe don't feel good for you, so that you can know what you don't want, so you can figure out what you do want. And that's life. That's this trial and error. This is this experience. These are the emotions. This is why we have emotions, to understand and gauge what we feel, so that if I feel this way, I can change it by making a different choice. But a lot of us get stuck in this constant repetition pattern of habits of things that we don't like, and that we stay there because it becomes like a constant. And that's the thing. We need to change it if you want it. So
just to add to that, if we're looking at frequencies, which we've talked about as energy, the frequency that's related with fear is at about 100. The frequency that's related to love is 500, and peace, it's 600. So you can't, they've looked at this scientifically. There you are. We just need to make a choice and head that direction.
Mm-hmm. So. But if you explain, like, what is it about these, like, that you're explaining, why do we need to know those kind of, that they each have their own frequency?
They each have their own frequency. So, and that's just talking about your emotions. If you're in anger, it's a very low frequency.
Low vibration.
If you're low vibration, if you're in love or peace, it's a very high vibration. Mm-hmm. So it's us becoming educated, and that higher vibration is so much better for you. Mm-hmm. And who you are, mm-hmm. and empowering you and keeping you healthy. Mm-hmm. Those are all part of that.
Yeah. And understanding too, like, about the fight or flight mode, right? Animals, mm-hmm. when they experience like a fear, they have specific hormones and chemicals within their brain that's released, mm-hmm. but they have this capacity of memorizing or remembering something for so long, and they release it and they stop getting out of this fight or flight mode. But for us as humans, because we have this deep intelligence and awareness within ourselves, sometimes we get stuck in this fight or flight mode. And then it's a choice, and then it becomes a habit, and then it becomes a subconscious programming within ourselves that we cannot figure out how to get out of, because we've become so used to it for so long. And because of that, it causes repercussions of stress, released hormones within your body that affects it. And that's why we have physical ailments, and we have mental blocks and all these issues within our body that is supposed to be healthy. And that's part of the shift and changing. Like I said, becoming consciously aware and deciding to make that choice, and adding the physical action to that choice every single day. So.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think that we kind of covered everything, and
We covered it.
yeah, I think this was a really good podcast, and we'd love to invite you to check out our website, Power Within Wellness. It has some really great stuff. It explains a little bit more on the energy level of things. And if you're interested in booking a session for the harmonic egg or the emotion code, please leave a message to us. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you soon. So
Absolutely.
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for checking out our podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.